Hello, my amazing fourth graders. This is lesson 8.4 with Mr. Torbein. Your objective is I will multiply a mixed number by a whole number. So how can I multiply a whole number by a fraction? Remember in lesson 8.3, used a model to do this. But now we're going to show you how mathematicians just use their math symbols and their numbers to multiply whole numbers by fractions. So here we have the whole number 7 multiplied by the fraction 2/3. Step number 1 is to rewrite your whole number as a fraction. So 7 wholes, all you have to do to make a whole number into a fraction is to make the denominator 1. So 7 wholes is equal to 7/1. Let me say that again. All you have to do to rewrite your whole number as a fraction is put the number 1 in the denominator. So step number 2 is to rewrite your problem. You have 7/1 times 2/3. It's the exact same thing we have up here. Step number 3 is to multiply the numerators, okay? So that top number, 7 times 2, will give you the product of 14. Step number 4 is to multiply the denominators. So you have 1 times 3 in the denominator, so your denominator is going to be 14/3. Now 7 times 2/3 is equal to 14/3, but we need to make that fraction proper, okay? 14/3 is equal to 4 2/3. I know we've learned several strategies on how to do this. We'll review that when we take a look in our GoMath notebook so you can remember. All right, let's take a look at a couple of examples in your GoMath book. I'm on page 477. The instructions read, multiply. Write the product as a mixed number. Let's take a look at example number 2. 6 times 2/5. Now, this is definitely not enough space for me, so that's why I have this graph paper right here. So as you can see, I am circling the problem number that I'm on, and I'm going to do my very, very best to make sure that each number goes in the correct grid square, okay? So step number 1 is to rewrite your whole number as a fraction, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. We have our whole number 6, and let's rewrite that. Notice I'm skipping a line, and rewrite that as a fraction. Remember, all I have to do is put that fraction over 1 in the denominator, okay? Step number 2 is to rewrite your problem. So now I have 6/1 times 2/5, okay? And let's draw some arrows just so that way you can see where I'm getting these numbers from. So we've done step number 1, we've done step number 2. Step number 3 is to multiply the numerators. So I'll multiply the numerator, 6 times 2, and that gives me the product of 12. Step number 4 is multiply the denominators. So now I'm going to multiply the denominator 1 times 5, and I have 5 in my denominator. Step number 5 is to make the fraction proper. Now, there are lots of strategies that we've learned how to do. I'm going to use a model to rename 12/5 into a proper fraction. So I have 12/5, and because I have these nice grid squares, let's go ahead and make fifths. So I'm just going to make a bar model where I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 equal parts, okay? When I shade that, I have 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and 5/5. So right here, I have 5/5, okay? Now, I need 12/5, so I'm going to make another whole. 6/5, 7/5, 8/5, 9/5, and 10/5. Okay? And because I don't quite have 12/5 yet, let me go ahead and make another bar model. 11/5, let me shade it in, 11/5, and 12/5. So right here, I have 12/5. So just by looking at this bar model, I can see that 12/5 is equivalent to, well, I have 2 wholes, so 2 wholes, and then I have 2/5 left over, okay? So I have now made that fraction proper. The answer to 6 times 2/5 when I'm writing my product as a mixed number is 2 2/5.